We were in the compound for approximately 2 hours, and after the mission was accomplished, we took highly sensitive material and information from the raid, much having to do with ISIS, origins, future plans, things that we very much want.
All right, on that subject, the sensitive material that may have been obtained after the raid that killed al-Baghdadi in Syria, former Navy SEAL Commander Dave Sears joins us. And, that was a big, as you know, Dave, that was big in the bin Laden raid, and we've talked about it in the past and in other instances. What type of materials are often collected when something like this happens?
You've got everything from paperwork and written notes to possibly hard drives, USB drives, anything that's going to contain information. You can even go farther than that and look at what kind of clothing are they wearing, what kind of state of repair are their weapons in, what kind of state of repair do they have the facilities, what communications equipment. So they're going to grab everything that they possibly can and pull it all apart.
What would you say about the state of the Islamic State, the state of ISIS at this point? When I guess when al-Baghdadi took over, he had been the number 3, then the number 1, the number 2 were killed. He ascends and he really expands it. I mean, it took over a lot of physical land. It was on the doorstep of Baghdad right at one point, but now it's been so reduced in terms of the amount of land it controls. Now the leader is gone as well. So people are asking the question about whether ISIS rebuilds or reconstitutes in some way, but what would you say?
Yeah, I don't think it'll ever reconstitute in the sense of a caliphate and actually owning territory. That was sort of people looking the other way, and they were allowed to do it, and it just wasn't taken as a big threat, and they were able to build and build and build before anybody knew what was happening. Now that's not going to happen again, and this is the mistake of the terrorists. The problem that they have is as they get larger, they become a bigger target, and we're able to take conventional means and attack that target, whether it's a territory, caliphate, tanks, things like that. Now I think they're largely disrupted. They're going to still be a threat in the sense of threat means do you have intent and capability. And right now what DOD is doing is addressing the capability piece. They are degrading ISIS's capability to be a threat anymore.
Well, speaking of capability, before I let you go, Dave, this is somewhat unrelated, but I'm always amazed at the capability of our own special operators, and as someone who comes from the SEAL teams, go in these situations, obviously under so much pressure. They're, for as great as the intelligence is, I'm sure there's many things you don't know. And time after time, it seems, we hear about a U.S. team going in, no injuries sustained on the U.S. side, no fatalities. I know, the President talked about, and unfortunately, a dog was injured, one of the from the canine unit, but none of the special operators are injured. I mean, it's amazing to me. I don't know if you can even put words to it to say, how does that happen?
That happens through an incredible selection of personnel to begin with, so you get the right people in there that have the affinity and proclivity to do these type operations. Then you spend an enormous and inordinate amount of time training to do these operations. Your entire life is dedicated to training to doing these operations, and you see the end result.
Now, we all read about the bin Laden raid. Would that have been similar, you think, in this case, where they basically knew exactly what they were going to be dealing with, the tunnel and all the rest? They knew exactly what they were going to be dealing with before they went there?
Very, very similar parallels. I think that there's enough now overhead imagery and the ability to do reconnaissance of an exact site or a target that you can be very well prepared coming into it. Now, you don't know completely, but you have a very good idea and able to prepare a lot.
All right, it's amazing to me. Anyway, Dave, thank you for your service. Thank you for coming on today. We always appreciate it. Dave Sears.
Thanks, Connell.
President Trump, one thing, we mentioned this before the break, he did leave the Democrats in the dark, Nancy Pelosi and others over Syria. So quick word from our panel on that. Heather, some have said on the Democratic side, well, Speaker Pelosi used to be the chair of the Intel Committee. She's been trusted with secrets of the past. Is it a big deal that she was left out this time, or the right call, or what do you make of it?
It was totally the right call. The courtesy, not a requirement, but
right,
a courtesy
not a requirement. Good point.
Has been to include the Gang of Eight. Pelosi herself would probably have been fine, but Adam Schiff is part of the Gang of Eight, and Adam Schiff has shown himself to be eminently untrustworthy, and Trump did what Trump does, which is he put the safety of the troops and the success of the mission ahead of the politics of niceties in Washington, and I think most Americans are grateful for that. If anything, as we were talking at the break, we'd rather see less of this and keep the security completely intact.
Absolutely.
But this is not something to play politics with.
It does bring up the other issue that's come up today, is whether we should see the video of the raid. I know the chairman of the Joint Chiefs said they're not ready to release any images of the raid. What's your view on that kind of thing?
I think if the images don't give away any secrets, I think it'd be kind of exciting to see this. I think it's appropriate to keep as few people involved in this, knowing about this while it's happening, until everybody gets out of the theater of operations. And it's also very important, I think, for President Trump and people in the White House not to be talking about how many choppers went in and here's how we handled this wall. We don't need to have any of that out there. People can write books about this 10 and 20 years
Well,
from
that was
now.
a criticism of the Obama administration and some others who talked a lot about the Bin Laden raid. Real quick.
Well, the big thing for me is national security is more important than anyone's politics. And so the fact that our men and women of our military were safe and the operation was successful, we're safer, this is a good thing. It's a positive.
Yeah, there shouldn't be any doubt about that.
That's right.
It
Plus,
is a good
very
thing.
big
And the fact that Pelosi's already saying, oh, he told Russia first, when that is a complete mischaracterization. You tell Russia so that they don't shoot down
Right, that's
helicopters
kind of
from
important
Russia.
to fly.
So she's already spinning it for political ends rather than being an honest broker on this important national
Advancing
security issue.
Russiagate, essentially, is what
Yes.
she's doing.
Let me go back to the markets. We're up 100 on the Dow. The NASDAQ